I never expected my brother's marriage to Claire would be the thing that finally broke our family apart. But standing outside the gates of the Ashford estate on what should have been the happiest day of her life, watching security turn away guests who didn't make the list, I realized some people only learn humility when their world collapses around them. Let me back up. My name is Emma, and for the past 8 years, I've been what most people would call the invisible sister. The one who moved across the country for work. The one who sends birthday cards but rarely makes it to holidays. The one my brother Michael stopped really talking to after he met Claire 5 years ago. I didn't mind, honestly. I was building something. Something big. But nobody in my family knew the details because, frankly, they never asked. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe. These kinds of real-life revenge tales don't tell themselves, and your support means everything. The trouble started 6 months before the wedding. I was in town for my father's birthday dinner when Claire made her announcement. The restaurant was one of those trendy downtown places with exposed brick and craft cocktails that cost $18. Claire had clearly picked it to show off. "We've set a date," she squealed, flashing her ring. A 3-carat diamond that Michael definitely couldn't afford on his junior accountant salary. "June 14th. Mark your calendars." Everyone applauded. My mother actually teared up. "It's going to be at the Ashford estate," Claire continued, and I saw my mother's eyes widen. The Ashford estate was the most prestigious venue in the state. Politicians got married there. C-suite executives. Old money families with hyphenated last names. Wow, my mother breathed. "That must cost." "Don't worry about it," Claire said, waving her hand dismissively. "My parents are handling everything. They want me to have the wedding I deserve." She emphasized that last word just slightly, and her eyes flickered to me for a fraction of a second. That was the first hint. Over the next few months, the wedding became Claire's entire personality. Every family gathering, and suddenly there were a lot of them, centered around place settings, flower arrangements, and the color palette, dusty rose and sage green, in case you're wondering. I tried to be supportive. I asked questions. I offered to help. I flew in twice specifically for wedding-related events. But something was off. At the bridal shower Claire's mother hosted, I was seated at the overflow table in the back, with distant cousins who didn't know anyone. When I tried to participate in the games, Claire's maid of honor, a woman named Stephanie who worked with her at some marketing firm, gave me a look that could curdle milk. "Sorry, this game is just for the bridal party and close family," she said sweetly. I was family. I was the groom's sister. But I sat down. At the engagement party, Claire gave a speech thanking everyone who had supported their journey. She mentioned her parents, her siblings, her college roommate, even her hairdresser. She thanked Michael's parents. She did not mention me. When I pointed this out to Michael later, he got defensive. "Claire's under a lot of stress," he said. "Planning a wedding this size is overwhelming. Don't take it personally." But it was personal, and it was about to get worse. The official exclusion came via email. Not even a phone call. "Dear Emma," it read, "after much consideration and due to space limitations at the venue, we've had to make some difficult decisions about the guest list. While we'd love to include everyone, we're keeping the wedding intimate. Immediate family and close friends only. We hope you understand. We'll celebrate with you another time. Love, Claire and Michael." I read it 3 times. Immediate family only. I was his sister. His only sister. I called Michael immediately. It went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. Finally, I texted, "Did you approve this?" 3 hours later, he responded, "It's Claire's day. I'm supporting her choices. Try to understand." I sat in my apartment, a corner unit in a glass tower downtown with a view of the river, and felt something harden inside my chest. Not anger, exactly. Something colder. I opened my laptop and sent a single email to my assistant. "Pull the file on the Ashford estate acquisition. I want every detail. You see, there's something my family didn't know about my boring office job that I never talked about. 3 years ago, the company I'd been working for, a small real estate investment firm, had taken a chance on me. They'd seen something. I'd started as an analyst, but I had a gift for seeing potential where others saw problems. Distressed properties, mismanaged venues, legacy estates being run into the ground by families who'd inherited them but didn't understand business. Within 2 years, I wasn't just working for the firm. I was a partner. And 6 months ago, right around the time Claire was booking her dream venue, we'd acquired the Ashford estate. The previous owners, the Ashford family, had held onto it for generations, but they'd leveraged it badly. Debts had piled up. The place was bleeding money. We bought it for 40 cents on the dollar, installed new management, and I'd personally overseen the restructuring. I now owned, through our holding company, 60% of the Ashford estate. The venue where my sister-in-law was getting married. The venue I was apparently not invited to. I smiled. The weeks before the wedding were illuminating. I made some calls. Talked to the estate's event coordinator, Patricia, a woman I'd worked with extensively during the acquisition. Patricia, I need to understand something. The Whitmore wedding on June 14th. What's the status? Oh, it's one of our premium packages, she said. Bride's family put down a substantial deposit. Very high-maintenance client, if I'm being honest. The bride has called 17 times this week alone. And who signed the contract? Let me check. Lawrence and Diane Whitmore. The bride's parents. Claire's parents. The ones handling everything. Pull up their payment records for me. There was a pause. Some keyboard clicking. They've paid the deposit, $20,000. But the balance of $80,000 is due 2 weeks before the event, and, oh no. What? They asked for an extension. They said they're waiting for some investment to mature. We granted them until 1 week before. But Emma, that's cutting it incredibly close for an event this size. I let that information settle. Keep me posted on that payment, I said. Daily updates. 1 week before the wedding, the payment still hadn't come through. I called Patricia again. They're saying 3 more days, she told me. The bride called this morning in tears, begging us not to cancel. She says it's all arranged. The money is coming. Her parents have it handled. What does our contract say about late payments? Event can be canceled up to 72 hours before with deposit forfeit. And if they pay within 72 hours, then we're locked in. I thought about my brother, about how he'd stopped taking my calls, about how my mother had gently suggested I not make waves when I told her about the email. Let me know the moment that payment comes through, I said. Or doesn't. 72 hours before the wedding, the payment landed. I wasn't disappointed. I'd expected it. People like Claire's parents always find the money when their reputation is on the line. But now I had information. I knew they'd stretched themselves thin. I knew this wedding was probably funded by debt they'd taken on, or liquidated investments, or borrowed money they'd have to pay back. I also knew something else. The wedding was happening at my venue, whether they knew it or not. And I was absolutely going to be there. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early. I put on a slate gray suit, Armani, tailored, expensive but understated. I did my makeup carefully, professional, polished. I looked like exactly what I was, a woman who owned things. I drove to the Ashford estate 2 hours before the ceremony was scheduled to start. Patricia met me at the staff entrance. Everything's set up, she said, walking me through. The ceremony is in the garden, reception in the ballroom. The bride is in the bridal suite with her party. Groom and his family are in the east wing. My family. Your parents arrived about 20 minutes ago. Your brother is with the bride's family. Of course he was. I'll be in my office, I said. Let me know if anything comes up. The owner's office overlooked the garden. I'd had it redecorated when we took over, floor-to-ceiling windows, a massive desk made from reclaimed oak, tasteful art. From here, I could see everything. I watched as guests began to arrive. Women in designer dresses and men in summer suits. A string quartet set up near the arbor where Claire and Michael would exchange vows. White chairs arranged in perfect rows. I saw my parents arrive, my mother in a lavender dress, my father uncomfortable in a tie. They were seated on the groom's side, 3rd row back. Not front row. That was reserved for Claire's family. I saw my brother, looking nervous and handsome in his tuxedo, talking with his groomsmen. I saw Claire arrive in a vintage Rolls-Royce, her dress a cascade of silk and lace. And I saw the moment when my mother noticed something was wrong. She was talking to my father, looking around, clearly asking about something. He shook his head. She looked worried. I knew what she was asking. Where's Emma? This is the moment where everything changes. If you're invested in seeing how this plays out, drop a comment and let me know. Your engagement keeps these stories coming. The ceremony started at 4 o'clock. It was beautiful. I'll give Claire that. The weather was perfect, low 80s, slight breeze. The string quartet played Pachelbel's canon. Claire walked down the aisle on her father's arm, and even from my office, I could see she was radiant. Michael's eyes were wet. The officiant, some friend of Claire's who'd gotten ordained online, began the ceremony. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. I checked my watch. At 4:20, right as the officiant was asking if anyone objected to the union, my phone buzzed. Patricia, you asked me to flag any issues. The bride's mother is asking about the champagne service. She wants Dom Perignon. We have Veuve Clicquot. She's insisting we make it work. I typed back, let her know Dom Perignon wasn't in the contract. If she wants to upgrade, it's $3,000 additional. Payment required before service. Patricia. She's saying the event coordinator told her Dom was included. Me. Check the contract. Patricia, I did. It's not. Me. Then it's not included. 3 minutes later, Patricia again. She's causing a scene in the bridal suite. Says this is unacceptable. Says she knows the owner and will have me fired. I smiled. Me, I'll handle it. Where is she? Patricia, still in the bridal suite. Should I? Me, I'm on my way. I left my office and walked through the marble hallways of the estate. I could hear the ceremony continuing outside. They were at the vows now. The bridal suite was on the second floor, a sprawling room with velvet sofas and a full-length mirror. I knocked once and entered. Diane Whitmore was red-faced, jabbing her finger at Patricia. 2 bridesmaids sat on the couch, looking uncomfortable. Claire's younger sister stood by the window. This is completely unacceptable, Diane was saying. I paid a fortune for this venue, and I expect. Is there a problem? Everyone turned. I stood in the doorway, calm, hands loosely clasped in front of me. Who are you? Diane demanded. Emma Thornton. I'm the owner. The room went silent. Owner. Diane repeated. Of the Ashford estate, yes. Patricia tells me there's confusion about the champagne service. Diane's face was a fascinating study. She was clearly trying to recalibrate, figure out how to handle this. There must be some mistake, she said, her tone shifting to forced sweetness. We were told Dom Perignon was included in the premium package. Who told you that? The previous event coordinator. When we booked. That would have been before we acquired the estate. I'm afraid any verbal promises made by previous staff aren't binding. What matters is the contract you signed. Do you have a copy? One of the bridesmaids pulled out her phone. I have a PDF. I waited while she found it. Pulled it up. Scrolled through. It says view click watch, she said quietly. Diane's mouth tightened. This is ridiculous, she said. It's my daughter's wedding day. Surely you can make an exception. I'm happy to upgrade the champagne for the contracted rate. $3,000, payable now. $3,000? For champagne. For 12 bottles of Dom Perignon. Yes. That's actually below retail. Diane looked at Patricia, then at me, then at the bridesmaids. I could see her calculating. The ceremony was happening. Guests were here. She couldn't afford another scene. Fine, she bit out. Charge my card. Patricia will handle that. Enjoy the ceremony. I turned to leave. Wait, Diane said. Have we met? You look familiar. I don't think so, I said. Though I am related to the groom. I left before she could respond. I returned to my office. Watched through the windows as the ceremony concluded. As Michael and Claire kissed. As guests applauded and threw rose petals. My phone buzzed. Mom. Emma. Honey, where are you? Michael was asking. I stared at the text. Michael was asking. Now. After the ceremony. After I'd been explicitly uninvited. I didn't respond. The cocktail hour began. Guests mingled on the terrace. Servers circulated with canapes. And, yes, view of Clickwatch champagne. The Dom Perignon would be reserved for the toasts. I saw my parents talking to Claire's parents. Saw my mother looking at her phone, worry creasing her forehead. I saw Michael and Claire making their rounds, greeting guests, posing for photos. At 6 o'clock, the doors to the ballroom opened. If the ceremony was beautiful, the reception was spectacular. Crystal chandeliers, centerpieces of roses and peonies, a 12-piece band. Claire had clearly spent months planning every detail. Guests found their seats. I watched the seating chart from the estate's website. Claire had insisted on posting it there so guests could check in advance. My parents were at table 8, near the back, with Michael's college roommate and some second cousins. Claire's family was at table 1, right next to the head table. Dinner was served. Speeches began. Claire's father gave a toast about his little girl growing up. Claire's maid of honor told a story about their college spring break. Michael's best man made a joke about how Michael was punching above his weight. Everyone laughed. My mother didn't. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. The band leader took the microphone. And now, we have a special surprise for the bride and groom. A video message from someone who couldn't be here tonight. A screen descended behind the head table. The lights dimmed. My face appeared. I was sitting at my desk in my office, the one in this very building, though no one knew that yet. I was in the same gray suit. Professional. Come. Hello everyone, Video Me said. For those who don't know me, I'm Emma Thornton, Michael's sister. I watched the room. My parents froze. My mother's hand went to her mouth. Michael's face went white. Claire looked confused. I wanted to send this message because I couldn't be there in person. As some of you may know, I wasn't invited. I smiled on screen. But I wanted to wish my brother and his new wife all the happiness in the world. Marriage is a partnership. It's built on respect, communication, and mutual support. It's about seeing each other clearly and choosing to build something together. I paused. It's also important to know who you're doing business with. Which brings me to an announcement. On screen, I held up a document. 6 months ago, my company completed the acquisition of the Ashford estate. This beautiful venue where you're all celebrating tonight is now owned and operated by Thornton Holdings. I'm the majority shareholder and CEO. The room was dead silent. I've spent the last few years building a real estate portfolio focused on historic properties and luxury venues. It's been incredibly rewarding work, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished. I looked directly at the camera. Claire, Diane, thank you for choosing the Ashford estate for this special day. Your contract and payment have been processed. I hope you're enjoying the view of Clickwat. I let that land. Michael, I love you. I always will. I hope you know that even when people exclude you, even when they make you feel small or invisible, you can build something they never saw coming. You can succeed on your own terms, and you can do it with dignity. I smiled again. Enjoy your evening, everyone. The estate's champagne service will begin shortly. The video ended. The screen went dark. The lights came back up. Nobody moved. Every single person in that ballroom was staring at either the screen or the head table, or me, though they didn't know yet that I was in the building. Claire's mother stood up slowly, her face the color of spoiled milk. My mother was crying. Michael was staring at the space where my face had been, his mouth slightly open. Claire looked like she'd been slapped. Then the whispers started. I stood up from my desk, straightened my jacket, and left my office. Time to make an appearance. I walked down the main staircase, the one that descended directly into the ballroom. It's a dramatic entrance, all marble and brass, the kind of thing that draws every eye. I reached the bottom step, just as Claire found her voice. This is insane, she was saying, her voice shrill. She's lying. She doesn't own this place. She's telling the truth, Patricia said, appearing with a leather portfolio. Miss Thornton is the owner. I'm the estate director, and I report directly to her. Claire turned, saw Patricia, then followed Patricia's gaze. To me, standing at the foot of the staircase in my gray suit, calm as Sunday morning. The room erupted. People were talking over each other, pulling out phones, looking between me and the head table like they were watching a tennis match. My mother stood up from table 8, tears streaming down her face. Emma, I walked toward my parents. Not the head table. Not Claire or her family. My parents. My father pulled me into a hug. He was shaking. I'm so sorry, he whispered. We didn't know. We had no idea. I know, Dad. My mother was next, sobbing into my shoulder. You should have been here. You should have been in the ceremony. You should have. It's okay, Mom. It's not okay. She pulled back, looked at me with red eyes. None of this is okay. I heard footsteps behind me. Emma. Michael. I turned. My brother looked devastated. There was no other word for it. You couldn't have called me, he said. You couldn't have told me? I tried. You didn't take my calls. You could have told me years ago. About your job. About your company. About any of this. You never asked. That stopped him. You never once asked what I was doing, I said quietly. Not in 5 years. You met Claire, and I became the sister who lived far away and had some boring office job. I was background noise. And when Claire decided I was embarrassing or unnecessary or not important enough to invite to your wedding, you let her. She didn't. She did. And you backed her. You sent me an email, Michael. An email. He had no response to that. Claire appeared at his shoulder, and the fury on her face was something to behold. This is harassment, she hissed. You're ruining my wedding. I'm attending my brother's wedding at a venue I own. I'm a guest. Uninvited, technically, but a guest nonetheless. You need to leave. No. I'll call the police. And tell them what? That the property owner is on her own property? That should go well. Diane Whitmore pushed through the crowd. You manipulative little. Careful, I said. You've already paid $80,000 for this venue. Don't add a lawsuit to your expenses. You planned this. You bought this place just to humiliate us. Actually, I bought this place because it was a solid investment. The fact that you happened to book your daughter's wedding here is coincidence. The fact that your daughter chose to exclude me is on her. Claire was crying now, mascara running, her perfect bridal makeup destroyed. Everyone is staring, she sobbed. Everyone knows. This was supposed to be perfect. You excluded his sister from his wedding, I said, and my voice carried across the silent ballroom. You told him to choose between his family and you, and he chose you. What did you think would happen? This is it, the moment the truth comes out. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own stories in the comments. I read every single one. The aftermath was messy. Claire's parents demanded to speak with my lawyers, then realized they had no legal standing for anything. The contract had been fulfilled to the letter. Several guests left early, uncomfortable with the tension. Others stayed, morbidly curious to see what would happen next. My parents insisted I stay. They barely left my side for the rest of the night. Michael and Claire had their first dance, a tense, awkward affair where Claire kept her face turned away from the guests, and Michael looked like he was at a funeral. The cake was cut. The bouquet was thrown. The band played. But the wedding was over. Everyone knew it. Around 9 o'clock, I found Michael alone on the terrace. Claire was in the bathroom, being consoled by her bridesmaids. I stood next to him at the railing, looking out over the garden where he'd gotten married 4 hours earlier. I didn't mean to ruin your wedding, I said. Didn't you? No. I meant to make a point. What point? That I matter. That you don't get to erase me because it's convenient. He was quiet for a long time. Claire said you'd be hurt if you came, he finally said. She said her family and friends would ask questions about your job, your life, why you weren't married or didn't have kids. She said it would be awkward for you, that it was better for everyone if we kept it small. And you believed her? I wanted to believe her, because it was easier than standing up to her. Yeah. He turned to look at me. When did you become this person? This successful, powerful person? I've always been this person. You just stopped paying attention. That hit him. I could see it. I'm sorry, he said. I'm really genuinely sorry. I should have fought for you. I should have insisted. I should have. You should have taken my calls. Yeah. We stood there in silence. Are we okay? He asked. Honestly? I don't know. That's going to depend on what you do next. What do you mean? I mean you're married to someone who thought excluding your sister was acceptable. You're going to have to decide if that's the kind of person you want to be married to. If that's the kind of marriage you want to have. He didn't respond. I left him there and went to find Patricia. How's the staff holding up? I asked. They're professionals. They've seen worse. She paused. Though this will be the story they tell for years. Probably. For what it's worth, Patricia said, I've worked with hundreds of brides. Thousands of families. Claire Whitmore is one of the most entitled, demanding clients I've ever dealt with. She spoke to our staff like they were servants. She made one of our waiters cry last week during the rehearsal. Did she? She berated him in front of everyone because he brought her water without ice, said he was incompetent and tried to get him fired. I filed that information away. Make sure everyone on staff tonight gets a bonus, I said. Double their normal rate. And add a note that it's because they handled a difficult situation with grace. Patricia smiled. Yes, ma'am. The wedding ended at 11. Guests trickled out. Claire and Michael left for their hotel. Not the honeymoon, that was scheduled for next week, without saying goodbye to me. My parents were the last to leave. Come have breakfast with us tomorrow, my mother said. Please. Okay. We're so proud of you, my father said. We should have said that years ago. We should have asked more questions. We should have been better. It's okay, Dad. It's not. But we'll do better. I hugged them both and watched them drive away. Then I walked back through the empty ballroom. The tables were being cleared. The flowers were being collected for donation. We had an arrangement with local hospitals. The band had packed up. It looked like any other event ending. No evidence of the drama that had unfolded here. I went back to my office and sat at my desk. Opened my laptop. I had emails, messages from colleagues who'd seen the video. Someone had posted it online, of course. It was already going viral. You're my hero, one friend wrote. That was the most epic thing I've ever seen, wrote another. There were also messages from strangers. People who'd somehow gotten my contact information and wanted to tell me their own stories of being excluded, dismissed, underestimated. You do what I've always wanted to do, one woman wrote. You showed them who you really are. I closed the laptop. That wasn't quite right. I hadn't shown them who I really was. I'd shown them what they'd missed by not paying attention. There's a difference. The person I'd always been, smart, driven, capable, had been there all along. They'd just chosen not to see it. And that was on them. I thought about Michael. About the choice he'd have to make. About whether his marriage would survive this. Part of me felt guilty. But a larger part felt something else. Relief. For years, I'd made myself smaller around my family. I'd downplayed my success because it felt awkward to talk about. I'd let them assume I was just getting by because correcting them seemed arrogant. I'd hidden, and hiding had cost me my brother's wedding. But hiding was over. The next morning, I met my parents for breakfast at a small cafe near their house. My mother had clearly been up all night. My father looked exhausted. Michael called, my mother said. He and Claire are fighting. She wants him to cut you off completely. She says you humiliated her and her family and she'll never forgive you. What did he say? He said he needed time to think. I nodded. Her parents are threatening to sue, my father added. Though their lawyer apparently told them they don't have a case. They don't. My mother reached across the table and took my hand. I need you to know something, she said. When you were growing up, I worried about you. You were always so independent, so self-sufficient. You didn't need us the way Michael did. And I think I let that become an excuse not to pay attention. I told myself you were fine. You had everything handled. You didn't need me to check in. Her voice broke. But you didn't need me. You needed me to see you, to ask questions, to care about what you were building. And I didn't. I'm so sorry. I squeezed her hand. I forgive you, I said. But Mom, I need you to actually know me now. Not the daughter you think I am. The person I actually am. Tell me. So I did. I told them about my company, about the properties we'd acquired, about the team I'd built, about my goals for the next 5 years. I told them about my life. And they listened. Really listened. For the first time in years, I felt seen by my parents. It shouldn't have taken a public confrontation. It shouldn't have required humiliating my brother's new wife. But it did, and I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Over the next few weeks, things evolved. Claire's parents did try to sue. Their lawyer withdrew the case when he realized they had no standing and would likely be countersued for defamation. Claire started a social media campaign painting me as a vindictive, jealous woman who'd sabotaged her wedding. It backfired spectacularly when several vendors from the wedding came forward to share stories of how she'd treated them. The court of public opinion turned against her quickly. Michael called me 2 weeks after the wedding. I need to talk to you, he said. We met at a neutral location, a park halfway between our homes. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in days. Claire and I are separating, he said. I wasn't surprised, but I still felt a pang of something. Guilt, maybe. Or sadness. I'm sorry. Don't be. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? No. He sat down on a bench, and I sat next to him. After the wedding, I started seeing things I'd ignored before. The way she talks to service workers. The way she treats people she thinks are beneath her. The way she talked about you. He paused. She told me you'd always been jealous of me. That you couldn't stand to see me happy. That you'd probably fabricated your success just to ruin our wedding. You didn't believe her. Not after I looked you up. Not after I called Mom and Dad and heard how breakfast went. Not after I actually paid attention. He looked at me. I've been a terrible brother. Yeah, you have. I want to do better. Then do better. How? Start by actually caring about my life. Ask me questions. Remember my answers. Show up. I can do that. We'll see. He smiled weakly. Fair. We sat in silence for a while. Do you hate Claire? He asked. No. I don't know her well enough to hate her. But I don't respect her. And I don't think she's good for you. She's not, he agreed. But that's something I need to figure out on my own. Okay. He left shortly after. Said he had a lot to process. I believed him. 3 months later, Michael and Claire's divorce was finalized. It was quick. No kids. No shared property. No contested assets. Just a mistake both of them were eager to undo. Michael moved back into an apartment alone. Started therapy. Started rebuilding his life. And slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding our relationship. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension, of old patterns trying to reassert themselves. But he asked questions now. About my work, my life, my goals. He showed up. And that made all the difference. Thank you so much for sticking with this story to the end. If it moved you or made you think differently about standing up for yourself, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about people who refuse to be invisible. 6 months after the wedding that wasn't really a wedding, I was back at the Ashford estate. Not for an event, just for a walk. The gardens were beautiful in autumn. Golden leaves, crisp air, the smell of wood smoke from somewhere distant. I stood in the spot where Claire and Michael had gotten married, where my video had played, where everything had changed. Patricia found me there. Thinking deep thoughts, she asked. Something like that. We have a booking for next month. Another big wedding. The bride specifically requested you not be anywhere near the property on her day. I laughed. Fair enough. For what it's worth, Patricia said, what you did that day. I've been in this industry for 20 years, and I've never seen anything like it. It was brutal. It was perfect. And that bride deserved every second of it. Thanks. Will you do it again? If another family member tries to exclude you? God, I hope I never have to. She smiled and left me alone in the garden. I thought about that day. About the look on Claire's face. About my brother's devastation. About the whispers and the stares and the video that had gone viral. Part of me wished it had gone differently, but a larger part was glad it hadn't, because I'd spent too many years being invisible, being the sister who didn't matter,